62,000 cases of Lyme disease were reported to the CDC in 2022. Now, not all cases are actually reported, and many people think that the actual number of Lyme disease cases in the United States per year is around 400,000. Now, on average, there's one fatal bear attack in the United States per year. So why are people so afraid of bear attacks when you're much, much more likely to get a tick bite and Lyme disease? Well, we're going to talk to one of the biggest experts on preventing tick bites. In fact, he's wrote a book on it. So stay tuned, and we're going to talk a little bit more about these gross little bloodsuckers. Before we start, I want to say at the end of this video, you're going to have a chance to win some duration Permethrin. But you're going to have to stay tuned until the end of the video, and we'll tell you how you can register for this giveaway. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't be cautious of bears. Of course, you should store your food properly, make noise when you sense bears around. Give them space and follow all the bear safety protocols. But what's the one question that your non-camping friends always ask you before you head out into the woods going backpacking or going camping? They always say, aren't you afraid of bears? And the truth is, yes, bears are dangerous, but you're much more likely to get a tick bite, to get Lyme disease. So, bear attacks, of course, are more gruesome than getting bit by a tick. But Lyme disease is no picnic either. So we're going to talk to a top speaker here and educator on tick prevention in the United States, Brian Anderson, better known as the Tick Terminator, or like I like to call him, the Tick Terminator. He is a tick and Lyme disease prevention specialist in Upper Michigan. He's an author, a speaker, a consultant, and advises companies with outdoor workers and outdoor enthusiasts. He helps hikers, backpackers, campers, hunters learn how repellents work. He also sells repellents on his website. So let's bring him in. Hey, Brian, how's it going?
Good, good. Thanks for having me. It's always fun to talk about ticks with Jeremy.
Yeah. So Brian and I met, a few years ago. He sent me some Permethrin. I did a little video on it, and we've kind of had a relationship since then. So how are things in the UP? All the snow's gone.
Yeah, spring is finally here. Thank the Lord for that. And hey, it's hopefully going to be a good day. That's for sure.
Yeah. So ticks. You've kind of been interested in ticks all of your life. It's kind of weird, but tell us why you're so interested in ticks.
It's just something about them. I remember as a little kid, I remember watching them. We didn't have them where I lived in Lower Michigan at the time, but when we visit my grandparents in Upper Michigan, we would see them. And Mom would do a little tick check on us every night, and we'd pull them off. Now, that was in the 60s, because I'm 66. And we never had a problem with them. We never, ever talked about Lyme disease, any tick-borne diseases. They were just kind of a little nuisance like a mosquito. But it was fun. Every once in a while, I would see them on a blade of grass. I said, oh, look at that. I can see them in their environment. It's kind of like seeing a deer before they see you in the woods. And that was always kind of fun to do that. And then probably about 10 years ago, again, I kind of really resurfaced my interest. I started playing with them in the basement with the grandkids. They call it wood ticking with Puffy. We bring them in on a white carpet, okay? So we wouldn't lose them. And we were doing experiments with them. And then one thing led to another. And I'm thinking, wow, now I speak around the country on this stuff. And it's kind of one of those things that a lot of people are really interested about ticks and diseases, but nobody spends hundreds and hundreds of hours, like I have, looking into it. And then when you're the Tick Terminator, with a cool logo, the tick in the shape of a hand grenade, it lends itself to very interesting conversations and topics, and because it's a war out there,
Yeah.
So
you just bought you got mail order some ticks in, and we're experimenting on them. That's a little weird. Hey, and if you ever want ticks in the future, just let me know, because when I go hiking, I pull like 100 of them off, and I could just give them to you.
Yeah, I get them from Oklahoma State University. It's about $50 to get about a dozen of them. Well, that's what
Yeah.
you got to do in February when you can't find them. You know what I mean? You want to
Yeah.
experiment, so you got to be a little weird to buy ticks. You know.
Yeah.
So
So tell me, Lyme disease, where does it come from, and why are ticks the one that are potentially giving it to us?
well, Lyme disease has probably been around for centuries. Okay, but it really got legs, so to speak. Lyme disease did in the mid 70s when there was a strange arthritic condition found among some adolescent kids in a little town in Connecticut. And once they finally got a little handle on it, the people said, "Well, what are we going to call this kind of strange disease that our kids are having?" And they said, "Oh, let's name it after the town of Lyme, Connecticut." So hence the name Lyme disease. So during that time to current, it really has gotten even more popular. Like I say, we didn't have much when I was a kid, but nowadays it's very common. They've spread all across the country. Where we live in a very mobile society. You know, we've transferred animals back and forth over the decades. You know, from Wisconsin to New England area over the last 100 years, which they say can sometimes do that, and just because of how things expand. Uh, but ticks, you know, are like mosquitoes. They ain't going away anytime soon. Let's say, you know, they are here to stay.
So you mentioned different parts of the country. If you look at the maps of where Lyme disease cases pop up, there are certain areas that ticks and Lyme diseases are more prevalent.
Absolutely. New England is by far, you know, kind of like the worst place in the country. New England area, you got Massachusetts, you know, and then Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, going up into Rhode Island and Connecticut. You know, that's what I call kind of New England area, and they're the worst. Where I live is second worst, upper Midwest. You know, so you're talking Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, going to Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. That area is second worst. But that's not to say they don't have it in other places too. But those are just the two worst places. You know,
Sure.
lots of growth here in the last number of years.
So imagine that has a lot to do with the environment, as far as having more green space opposed to arid areas.
Correct.
You know, what type of woods am I most likely to get ticks on me?
Well, the ticks have to have a low-lying vegetation, you know, like grasses and brush and stuff like that. They need moisture to survive too. Uh, so they're going to hang out and stuff like that. They're never going to be out in the middle of a asphalt parking lot, for example, you know. And rarely are they in that, like you said, arid deserts, so like the southwest part of the country. There's a few there, but not anywhere near the concentration that we have in more of a densely forested, if you want to say, type of environment. So that's a big thing for them. They need moisture to survive, and they don't die off in the wintertime either, because in late fall, I mean, they're pretty much out for almost, gosh, 8 months at least. In November, they start diving down under the leaf litter, and snow comes over. Snow is a wonderful insulator, but they don't die. I mean, it needs to be 40 below for weeks and weeks on end with no cover at all for them to die.
Yeah, so I go up in the boundary waters a lot, and in northern Minnesota, where it gets super cold in the winter, and there are plenty of ticks
Oh yeah,
when spring comes around. But yeah, I mean, even up there where it's below zero, for long periods of time, what you're saying is, if there's a bunch of snow on the ground, that's insulating them from getting to that -40 for weeks on end. So they
right.
they kind of hibernate like a bear.
Yeah. I tell people they kind of come and go with, let's say, if you want to have a ballpark, 32-degree freezing. They start, hibernating, if you want to say then, and they start coming out around 32. So I tell people kind of around here, they come and go with the snow. As the snow comes, they go away. When the snow goes away, they come out again.
Yeah. So, I mean, you don't really have to worry about getting ticks on you when there's snow on the ground, but they aren't dead. Is that right?
Pretty much so. But there's always a caveat there. What could happen is sometimes you know, I mean, you're Minnesota, I'm Michigan. Sometimes we get a thaw like in January, February,
Mm.
where you get 50 degrees for a day or two. And ticks
Yeah,
say, "Hey, man, it's springtime, baby!" So I'm getting out, and they crawl up, through the snow to look for a host.
yeah,
It's not normally a person, but it could be a dog, an animal, something like that. But they come out
sure.
for those couple days, and they go back again.
And I think maybe we skip something here where, the ticks aren't usually, they aren't flying down from a tree.
No,
I typically get them if I'm walking through some weeds and
yeah,
longer grass, and
correct.
they just hop off onto your leg, right?
Right. They don't fly or jump or drop out of trees. They're opportunists where they're sitting on that blade of grass. They got their arms out there, and or their legs. I mean, they're 8 legs. They're actually an arachnid family, so they're part of the spiders. Uh, but they're waiting to latch on to us, and just when we brush by. Yeah,
Sure.
you're exactly right. Yep.
So there are all sorts of gross animals on the earth, bats, mice, snakes, and they all seem to have kind of a purpose where there is something good about them. Is there anything good, or do ticks have any sort of good qualities for being on Earth?
I put them on the same level as a mosquito. And what's the good of a mosquito? Mosquito is actually part of, the food chain, if you will. Um, and ticks are the same way. Different animals eat ticks, like centipedes and grasshoppers and uh, things like that. And actually, turkeys eat them too. Guinea hens, chickens, a poultry family will eat ticks. So they're part of the food chain, I guess, if we want to say that a little bit. A very annoying and a dangerous part of the food chain too.
Don't possums eat a lot of ticks too?
They say they eat them too. Yep, I've heard
Yeah,
both sides of that story. Uh,
possums are gross, so I'm glad there's a reason for them. But
yeah, yeah.
good. So tell us what happens when you get Lyme disease.
It's miserable. I will say. I'm going to show you this here right here. Here's here's my stuffed tick. Of course, I'm a tick terminator, and I also have a little baby tick here too. And when a tick is stuck on you like this, what you want to do is you want to pull it off very gently. Okay, if you get one, you never want to grab it by the body like this and pull it off, because when you do that, you could be possibly squeezing the bad stuff into you at the point you're trying to take it out. So be very nice to a tick. Take it at the very base like this, fine tip tweezers or a little tick key, something like that, to grab it like this and pull it straight up. Okay. Be nice to it. Don't spin it around. Don't irritate. I tell people, don't tick off a tick when you're taking it off. Don't make it mad. After you get it off, I mean, it's not a bad idea to keep it for a bit. You put it in tape, put it in a Ziploc bag, at least take a picture of it. I mean, this is a deer tick. I mean, I know my ticks, of course, especially the popular ones. Uh, and this is the one that could carry Lyme disease. But what happens is watch that bite area when you get bit. Take the tick off. You may want to wash it with soap and water. If there's a little bit of the head left in there, don't worry about it. It'll go away in a couple days. But watch that bite area. If it swells up, if you have any kind of bad reaction like Bell's palsy, possibly blurry vision, brain fog, achy joints, flu-like symptoms, anything like that, or the swelling around that bite area, a bullseye rash, for example. That's not in all the cases, but if you have anything like that, that is so important that you get medical assistance. I mean, getting on an antibiotic, and I'm not a doctor and I don't play one on TV, but doxycycline is typically the best line of antibiotics to use for that. It's all about early detection, early treatment is what I tell people. You want to get that treated within several days or a week. I mean, if you're out on a backpacking trip, I mean, let's say you're doing the Appalachian Trail, or something like that, and you get bit and you have those bad reactions, man, you better get off the trail and see somebody about that. You don't want to wait. I mean, I had a lady use our stuff. She did the whole AT there a couple years ago, and she never got Lyme, but never got any bites. But that's what is that, like a 6-month ordeal sometimes? I mean,
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
like that. It's not worth it. I mean, because if you wait too long, you're going to be stuck with Lyme pretty much for the rest of your life. It's all about getting rid of it in the beginning. in the beginning when you first get bit. Those first few days or a week, that's the key time to taking advantage of proper treatment and getting an
Sure.
antibiotic for a couple weeks.
So what's the best way to prevent getting tick bites?
Stay inside, never go out, live in a plastic bubble, just like you never get out. Yeah, I'm kidding, of course,
Yeah.
you're out all the time. The best way to do it is for backpackers is stay on the trail, never go off, but that's impossible. You can't do that. I have found in my research when I was doing this here a number of years ago, I found a product called Permethrin. Permethrin is an extremely unique product. It basically has been around since about 73. Excuse me. Where it was created in 1973. Permethrin is actually the synthetic version of pyrethrum, which is a naturally occurring insect repellent that's found in a chrysanthemum flower, of all things. Okay, so they made it into a usable version in the 70s. They made it for 4 different applications. One's for farmers to put in their crops, keep bugs off. Another one's for farmers to put on their livestock and cattle area. Another one is for doctors to use for lice and scabies. In the 4th version, the 4th formula, is for us to put on our clothing and gear. Because the way permethrin works once it's sprayed on your clothing is it adheres, it sticks to the fabric, all right? You can't see it, it's invisible, it's odorless when it's dry. And when ticks crawl on it, that's when they notice it, okay? It's called they notice it when they come in contact with it. So as ticks are crawling up your pants that are treated with permethrin, every step they take drives their nervous system nuts, drives them crazy. And eventually, normally they can't make it to your belt line. They're going to fall off and die because it's damaged their nervous system so much, gives them a sense of paralysis. And if they were to make it past that, make it to the skin, they're so incapacitated and damaged that they're not going to be able to bite you anyways. So once they've been walking on permethrin for less than a minute for sure, that pretty much does them in. So permethrin is extremely unique. It's very cool how that works. Different than, like, say, DEET. DEET works on the principle of the smell, the scent, the aroma of DEET. That's what mosquitoes and ticks will notice. But nothing's better than permethrin, that's for sure. But they notice the scent, the smell, the aroma of the DEET, and that tricks their like a mosquito's little antennas and says, "Hey, buddy, there's no blood there," so they fly off.
Sure.
So that works on the smell. Permethrin works as a contact repellent. The two of those together is the best 1-2 punch possible.
Sure.
DEET for your skin, permethrin for your clothing and gear, and that's the best you can possibly do.
Sure. So. And I've noticed, maybe it's all in my head, but when I treat with permethrin, it seems like I get bugged less by mosquitoes as well.
Right, because they will land on that permethrin treated garment, all right, and they will sense those permethrin molecules also, and they don't like the feel of that. I had a black fly land on my thigh a couple years ago at my mom's, and she lives in the woods, and it was sheer entertainment for me, man, watching this black fly. They call it the hot feet syndrome. It could sense the permethrin molecules in my jeans, and it flew off. I say, cha-ching! I won because it didn't bite me. It could sense the permethrin, so it does work on little flying insects like that. In that way.
Has PETA bugged you yet since you're torturing all these little animals?
No, that's good.
So you talked about the ticks. They usually come on your legs, and if they're walking for a while, they get kind of fried by it. So I would guess the most important thing is to treat, your shoes, your socks, your pants. Do you still treat like your hat and your shirt and stuff like that?
I do, for sure. I even made up a poem about that. I'll say at the end here. Okay, so when we finish, I wrote a poem about how I treat stuff with. It's the craziest tick poem you ever heard, but yeah, absolutely everything. Yeah. Because you never know when those stupid little varmints are going to get on you or where. Shoes for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Shoes and socks, not your inner underwear and inner bra, for women, but all the outer stuff for sure, because that's where they're going to come on us, obviously, first. So yeah, good question.
Sure. Definitely. Underwear, that's good. I didn't know that you didn't really need to do that. I was always a little worried about that part, but
oh yeah, ticks will get on us and look for blood in every imaginable place, and I've heard every story from whether it's a female to male to, Yeah, any
So
place. So that brings me to another point. Doing daily tick checks during
yeah.
tick season too, when you're out there, is extremely important. I mention that in my book, and every time I give a presentation, daily tick checks are very, very important because sometimes, and you do all the best stuff you possibly can, and one of those little varmints could still possibly get through, and it only takes one to really screw up your life.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
You know how hard it is to do a tick check thoroughly when you're hiking alone?
Tough.
So I tend to use my phone
Yes.
to look in the areas that I can't see without, bending over weird. And my biggest worry is, while I'm using my phone to check my crotch area, that I accidentally live stream it.
You
There's
want
a
to be
good joke.
careful of that.
There's a good joke that says, oh, 13 people watching. Whoa, So, uh, so a question for you is, I always hike in warmer weather and I don't usually wear pants. And, that seems to be a problem with the ticks where, I have my socks, my shoes, I have my shorts, but, I've been on trips where I've pulled 200 ticks off my legs. Got any ideas there?
Well, I would say on the skin there, then, I mean, permethrin on the socks for sure and your shoes, but you
Yeah.
still have a lot of exposed skin there. I would use a DEET uh,
Yeah.
in that area.
Okay.
So,
I mean, you see the people out there, with their pants tucked into their socks and, they have the long sleeve shirts and maybe a bug net and that sort of thing. But, when I'm out hiking big miles in the hot weather, to prevent chafing and overheating, I need to wear shorts, but it isn't the best for preventing ticks from
yes.
coming along.
Yep.
So,
That's what I would do. That's about all you can do
yeah.
for sure.
So some people worry about putting a chemical on their clothes, permethrin. Can you say a little bit more about kind of to ease those people that this chemical is safe?
Yeah, I mean it's on the very 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 low end of calling it toxic insecticide. You have all kinds of different degrees of those categories, and this is very very minor. It's not really for your skin anyways, because it goes to your clothes. It's best to put them on to spray your clothes. Let's say on a clothesline outdoors, or lay it flat on the ground outdoors. Then spray them, and then wait at least 3-4 hours before you pick them up again, uh, and then let them dry overnight. I mean that's the best way. And then it's a dried product on there, and so you can't even see it. But it doesn't.
So,
I
yeah.
was going to say the cool thing about permethrin is you don't have to put it on every day. That's what I like about it.
Mm-hmm.
And for backpackers, it is absolutely the coolest thing, for all your clothing and gear and probably all the stuff you put on, use it for. It's nice. I mean, I treat my clothes sometimes for up to 3-4 months at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like 12 weeks, 12 washes. I could make it 24 weeks and 24 washes with the permethrin that we have. So it's extremely unique, and it's not a daily application at all. So
So a lot of people say you should dip instead of spray. Any thoughts on that?
yeah, it's if they want to dip like that, yeah, that's fine. Uh, Spraying is pretty adequate too.
Yeah, I
Excuse me.
found just from dipping is you waste a lot of the permethrin because
Good.
no matter how much you wring it out, it's going to be dripping on the ground, and it kind of causes a mess as well.
It's definitely more messy. Yeah, spraying is much easier. I've never dipped. I have always sprayed, and then I have great results with that. The nice thing about doing it on the ground or on a clothesline, as opposed to being on yourself, you're not really supposed to spray it on yourself because a couple of different factors is one, if it possibly gets in your skin, it may cause a little small temporary redness. Just wash it off. But anyways, doing it on the ground, you laying it flat. There's no wrinkles in the pants, as
Mhm.
opposed to wearing them and standing up there looking, spraying it right there. There's too many wrinkles. So for better coverage and better protection, that's why it's so important to lay the garment as flat as they can
Hmm.
uh, on the surface or on the clothesline or whatever. That
Sure.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, did you just spray the outside, or should you do the inside of your clothes as well?
I never do the inside. Some people do. I always do the outside. And you should spray it so that the material is starting to look damp.
Mm,
So it's soaking in pretty good. Yeah. So
sure.
just keep that in mind. Spray it until they starting to look a little damp. Not
So,
soaking wet like it fell in the water, but damp.
sure. So, I found from spraying that certain materials take a little bit more. Like if you were to do a cotton shirt opposed to like a polyester shirt, just
Sure.
the nature of the materials, you're going to have to spray a little bit more on the cotton one.
Yep. Yep.
But
Be more absorbent.
so we talked a little bit earlier about the duration here, and most people are familiar with the Sawyer premix spray, which is probably the most popular one, and you can buy 48 ounces. I checked on Amazon for $32, and for the longest time, I actually bought this farm grade. It kind of smells. Permethrin, and that comes in 10% concentrate, and you dilute it just like the duration. However, that stuff is smelly, and like you talked about earlier, there are 4 different types of permethrin, and really that kind is it has pictures right on here of a cow, a
Yeah.
horse, a sheep, that it really isn't made for putting on clothing and putting on people. But so the duration that you sell is a 10% permethrin that you dilute, comes with a spray bottle that you spray on. And, that costs $37 right now.
Yep.
And when diluted, this will make 128 ounces, and the Sawyer makes 48 ounces. So I did a little math to compare the pricing, and the Sawyer cost is 67 cents per ounce, and the duration is 29 cents per ounce. So really, while the duration may cost more, you get a lot more, and the actual cost per ounce is less than half of what the Sawyer stuff is.
Because you mix it yourself. It's a concentrate. Yeah. Anytime you get a concentrate of any kind, you know, doing it yourself, you're saving money for sure.
Yeah, I know you have it there too, but just to show you, you get this little mixing cup. I'm not going to pull the concentrate out. If you have one sitting there, Brian, maybe you
Yeah.
can show them.
I got one right here.
Yeah. So it comes with that, and you pour it in the little cup, and then you mix it with water in the spray bottle and spray it on your clothes.
Yep. 32 ounce here.
And like you said, there are instructions inside the box here.
Yep.
If you want to make it more concentrated, it'll last longer. So it's kind of up to you if you want what concentrate level you want to use.
Backpackers and hikers love it because they can determine how long it's going to last, which is the only one you can do that with.
A little pro tip here: mark on your calendar when you did it. Because if you treat it for like 5 months, you're going, all right, how long has it been? And usually I end up treating it again too soon because I forgot. But so Brian's going to give away one of these duration permethrin packages. So the key to how you can win that is, first of all, you need to subscribe to Midwest Backpacker. And then in the comments down below, say, I want the duration. Give me that permethrin. Comment something like that. And this video is getting published on, let's see here, April 22nd. So 3 weeks from then, let me see here. That'd be May 13th. I'm going to randomly pick someone, and I'll reach out to you, get your address, and Brian will graciously mail you a bottle of duration. So before we head out here, I want to tell everybody to check out Brian's website, theticterminator.com. And I'll put a link to that in the description below. Brian, is there anything that we forgot to talk about as far as ticks, Lyme disease, permethrin, anything that we should talk about?
I'll wrap it up with the poem that I wrote.
Okay.
Here's how it goes. I hate them little suckers. I want to terminate them all. So I do with Permethrin and love to watch them fall. From head to toe, I spray this stuff. My shoes, socks, clothes, and hats, because it works on more than ticks, like skeeters, chiggers, and even gnats. So I ask you if you're listening to keep away from Lyme, get started with Permethrin, and now is the perfect time. Thank you.
Nice. Nice. All right. Thank you, Brian. I just want to remind everyone, if they like this video, to hit subscribe, punch the bell notification, check out Midwest Backpacker on Instagram and Facebook. Thanks again, Brian.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you out on the trail.
Yep.
To the chopper.